Good evening, our urban viewers, and thank you for tuning in once again. This is the Urban Doctor, and my name is Darren Bartlett, the host of the show. And yes, just last week when we were talking about infertility, a lot of questions came through, but we picked out what we can pick out, and we shall continue to respond to those that we responded to in your WhatsApp messages. Some of those questions, needed a direct response, and we did so. I even shared the doctor's number. Those of you who have contacted him or who are yet to contact him, yes, you will be able to reach out to him. But don't forget that our number is 0755755575. That's the WhatsApp number that you can reach out. Please don't call that number. Just send your messages to that number. They are confidential. They are not shared with anybody else apart from myself and the doctor. So we decided to say let's bring back Dr. Mugisha Godfrey to continue to talk about the issues of infertility. We only have 30 minutes, but we make sure that we try to digest what we can, and then also get into another day where we can find time still and address the same issues. So Dr. Mugisha is back in studio, and we continue with the conversation on infertility. But before we get into the conversation, let him say hi to you, our viewers.
Good morning, viewers. I'm glad to be here with you today.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for sparing more time to come and talk to us about the issues of infertility. And we shall just go direct, of course, to our questions that they came through, because the other time we're just expounding on what it is, what could be the cause, and things like that. So we didn't have so many questions coming in from the public. And what we are going to go to do today is just get into the questions from the public. And I will go with the first question that came through. People prefer to keep their names anonymous, so it's fine. And the person asked, when it comes to sperm count, what is a normal range of sperm count?
Okay, that's a good question. This is a little bit technical because this is supposed to be handled when we are doing our tests in our laboratories with our technical people, and the doctors are supposed to interpret it and let people know. But the figures which are generally acceptable is that, first of all, we are talking about sperms which are carried in this fluid we call semen. So the laboratory gets this gentleman's semen and they do analysis, the test which they call semen analysis. When they are doing that, there are quite a number of things they are looking at. And many of those factors may contribute to this topic we are talking about in terms of infertility. But let's talk now about the numbers of sperms. So these sperms are the seeds that cause pregnancy. Now, we all know that the man produces sperms all the time. And there are supposed to be quite a big number of them. I think that was meant to make sure that the best of those many does the job, gives us the best quality of a product, the child we're going to get. So first of all, the volume of the semen in a normal adult man should be ranging between 2 to 5 mils. 2 mils to 5 mils at every release. Now, in each meal, there is expected to be at least 20 million sperms.
20 million?
Yes.
In one meal?
One meal.
Okay.
We are talking of 2 to 5 meals. So in 2 meals, 40 million. In 5 meals, 100 million. Those are many, right? So that is what we take as the standard normal for any average man.
So if I ask that, is it possible that one can release over 2 mils, but still shoot blank?
Yes, exactly. This is why we're saying the lowest normal in terms of counting the sperms in each male should be 20 million. But when you come to our clinics, when you're doing these tests, you find someone has 5, 10, 15, and onward. While actually others shoot beyond the 20, find them in 25, 30, and when they become too many, they also become a problem.
Really?
Yes. They cause other issues. They can also actually lead to failure to cause conception. So that's why they are saying we should be having at least 20, But again, they shouldn't be too
Too many.
Yes.
Should one worry if they have less?
Very much. Because if they have less than 20, as we've just said, they may not be able to effect fertilization to cause conception. So when we are checking our gentlemen, our couples, when they come, many people, the finger is first pointed to the female.
These women are not giving birth.
So we deal with this girl, we check everything, and then at the end of the day, you find all you've been checking on this girl is fine. Then that's where we gain our grounds and say, gentlemen,
you also first
can you come and we look at this. So we that's when we go to do the seminarisis. And many times we find low numbers, and those can also be a contributing factor.
Okay.
So we are talking of numbers now, but there are many other factors on the sperms that can cause infertility. But your question was on numbers.
Yes. Still speaking of numbers, there's a traditional thought or myth, I should say. People tend to say, when you eat too much nuts, you can increase your chances, production of semen and sperms. Are there foods or are there types of medications that one can take to increase their sperm count?
That's a very, very good, important question. We are now looking at a gentleman where we've done our test and we found the numbers are low. But you see, this will also depend on how low. We have some terms we use. As I told you last time, we are not going to go into terms, but there is where the
you can say it in English.
There is where the count is slightly below the normal. Say 10, 15, all right? But then there is where you find they are telling you it is now in tens of thousands, not even millions. And in some cases we found completely nothing, zero. Those also have their own problems. So the person with zero, that one really, there is a big, big problem. You can't just take food, you can't just take an injection or tablets and all of a sudden they are from 0 to 20. But someone who has 10, 15, and then you find they are a bit normal, there are some few things we can use to improve. Yes. Remember, even last time we talked about this briefly, but not along that line. We said the factory of these sperms is the testis. The testis lies outside the body for a particular purpose, that we make the conditions for the production of sperms more favorable, because it's done best at a temperature that's lower than the body temperature. That's why they're outside. Look at any animal, even outside in the bush.
They are always separate
out,
from.
yes, for improving the conditions for production. So if you improve those conditions in the testes, we talked a lot about people who cause a lot of heat around their testes. We talked about people who drink a lot of alcohol, smoking. We talked about all those things. Now to improve it, then now you need to reduce these factors or eliminate them. Remove alcohol, remove smoking, remove too much heat on the testes. Then you can give some medications. Many of them we give them in tablets, but can also some in injection form, which can actually improve the conditions in the factory, and we may see an improvement in the quality and in the numbers of sperms.
I'm going to still stick around at this numbering of counting and boosting of sperms. Yeah. There's also a conversation that goes on in men, whether it's a myth or belief. You're the doctor, you can help us on this. That also wearing a certain type of pajamas, the underparts, the ones that hold your private parts close to your body, and then there are those that let you boxers that let you free. Yes. Can these also affect? Because when you talk about scrotum being a little bit outside, and then you wear an underwear, it looks like it will be closed.
You're pulling it back into the body.
You're
pulling it back to the core temperature of the body, which temperature is slightly higher than what is supposed to be for good quality production. So the more you let them free, the better. So any clothes that you put on that pull them too much to the body may interfere with this process. So we will recommend that you really let them free. The way God created them, let them be free and let them be cool.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, doctor, another question here. Someone asked that at what age does one stop producing active sperms?
The age, there is no defined limit that at this age the sperm production stops completely. A man is able to produce sperm through his life. But what matters, as we've just said, is the quality and the numbers. So as we grow into puberty, we have maximum production, both in quality and numbers. Then as we reach 40, 45 years, there starts a decline. But when we talk of this decline, does not mean that it has stopped. No. It may come from what it was, optimally what it was. It's reducing, but performing very well. And you've seen men who were able to make women pregnant at 70 years, some at 80 years. So the sperm production never stops.
And for women, at what age would you consider that now they cannot give birth?
For women, you know, they have what we call menopause. This is manifest outward when a lady stops having her monthly periods. But that's a sign that so many other things are happening in her body. And one of them is that obviously at that time she may not be able to ovulate, release the ovum. And at that stage she may not conceive because there's no ovum. Even slightly before that, there may be ovulation, there may be release of an ovum, but the quality of that ovum also matters. That it's there, yes, but it's not quality to be fertilized. So there is everything available, but the fertilization may not take place. If it takes place, it may not result into a growth into a baby.
Are these menopause age capped? Like, is there a cap?
It's a range. It's a range. Menopause is expected to set in anytime 50 and above, 50 years and above. But some people, because of different conditions, you know, we are very different. We are never the same. The environment, the way we are made, the genetics and everything. So some people, the menopause may set in early, some 45, some it may delay up to 55 and beyond. So, but we have an average age of around 50 years as the time when we think we don't expect someone to just be continuing having periods or having ovulation and being able to conceive. But I must mention here that, well, that's what is taken as in an average age for all races. But we are seeing some girls who are going into menopause much, much earlier. Even in this country, in Uganda here. Not very long ago, a lady was identified to have gone into her menopause at 37 years.
What?
Yes. So there is that average age for everyone, but then there is a variation from person to person.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. 37?
Yes.
That's a little bit scary. So
Yes.
people have to check. Is there a way to check that you've reached your menopause?
Yeah, but when you check and confirm menopause, it's done. I mean, so the whole thing is you wouldn't even know. And the way it was discovered in this person, that's the time she said, I want to start my family. She had got married, I want to get pregnant. She tries 1 year, 2 years, no pregnancy. Then the following investigations, trying to investigate her failure to conceive, is what led to confirming that she's gone into menopause.
So it's likely that she could have actually entered the stage of menopause way earlier.
It's possible, but
because
that's when
they
it was
discovered
discovered.
it at 37.
Yes, yes.
So sad for that. Doctor, another question says that what common factors hurt fertility?
We looked at this a little bit last time because remember we put it in two categories. We said the male and the female. And we looked at factors in the woman, factors in the man. There are quite a number. There are many. But if we can quickly just rush through them, we're starting with the lady. The commonest things are things like failure to ovulate, failure to release the ovum is one of the commonest things. It also has its own problems behind it. The other main one is problems of the reproductive system, infections of the reproductive system, which affects the uterus itself, which affects the tubes. And many times you hear people talking about PID, pelvic inflammatory disease. So where the germs, bad germs, especially related to STDs, gain access to the uterus, they advance into the tubes, they irritate them, they damage them. Then as they are healing, they heal with scars and things are getting closed here and there, and the lady can't conceive. There are issues with the cervix. You remember we talked about mucus in the cervix?
Mucus in the cervix,
That mucus is supposed to change nature. It's supposed to seal off the uterus from the outside. But at the time of fertility, it's supposed to change its nature, become soft, become more porous. And ladies know what changes they notice actually from that mucus, that I think now I'm fertile. But in some, the mucus becomes stubborn. It doesn't. It can be a factor. There could be other things, the abnormalities of the reproductive system. Remember we talked about uteruses of different shapes, different sizes. Some are not good enough to, we are not going to the detail, that's another whole area. But the structure of the uterus, maybe just an example you can give, is where you find the uterus is divided into two parts. And then you find each part is not well developed to carry a pregnancy. Those kind of things. Or if it starts carrying a pregnancy, reaches a point and the pregnancy is too big for that small uterus and it can't go on, leads to miscarriage. So there are quite a number of things in the female. Then there are things which have to do with the hormones in their bodies. You find someone has a thyroid problem. Have you ever heard of the thyroid gland? Something which is at the neck here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, it helps us in so many things, including how our body uses our food, but it also affects the other system, the other hormones which control reproduction and fertility. If it's out of function, it can cause that, and many other things. Now, the male, the biggest problem is if the male has problems with the sperms. As we said, there may be that fluid, the semen you see, but we talked about the numbers, may be low. We talked about abnormalities in terms of structure, shape, and whatever. We mentioned something about it last time. Yeah, because we said the sperm is made in a way that's supposed to be strong to stand the job, to traveling, and to be able to perform when it reaches the target. But some of them you find they lack the package for traveling, they can't reach where they're supposed to go. Yeah, they're abnormal in shape, tails are not good to prepare them. They don't have enough packages of energy to send them. When they reach, you find they don't have the gadgets to break through into the egg. So along that whole way is a number of them. Then obviously there is those issues in both groups, which are more of genetic. They were born with them. There are problems, issues. You find because of the genetic setup of the man, he has no sperms. Because of the genetic setup of the lady, he can't produce eggs. So there are quite a number of factors along the way, very many.
You just mentioned something to do with genetics, and I'm wondering, so can infertility be a genetic thing?
Yes.
Passed on to?
Okay. That's where the challenge is.
Because
when we mention the word genetics,
yes,
most people think of heredity. They are different. They are different.
So this one could be a problem with your genes.
Your genetic material set up, but which may not necessarily be passed on. And it can be influenced by factors that just affect that person and may not affect the other. But then there are things which change that can be passed on from one generation to the other. That one goes into heredity. So there are conditions. You find someone has a condition in the body that now affects the reproductive system. And this was because of the arrangements in the chromosomes which carry the genes. Okay? But it is for this individual only. But if another person, the relative, a brother, sister, may not have, the parents may not have, it's just something that happened in the process of this person being formed that caused that problem. Okay. I hope it's a bit
it's clear.
Yeah, because genetics does not necessarily mean that this thing
has been passed on.
Yes.
No.
It can be affected in a way that affects this individual and does not affect the others around. So it's possible.
Interesting that. So, doctor, you know, we were talking about semen and we were talking about sperms.
Yes.
Clearly, these are two different things. Can one have semen without sperms?
Yes. You remember I mentioned that we do semen analysis and we find 0 sperms. Zero, nothing.
So
And
these two have different ways they are produced in the body.
yes. The sperm
Yeah.
is produced in the testes, all right? And prepared and everything made ready in the testes. But when it comes at the time of release, it's delivered by a tube, which you can call a sperm duct, but in science we call it a vas deferens. It brings it to a point, if you can remember your little biology in secondary, under the urinary bladder, where there is a gland called the prostate. And there is some other groups of glands there. There are about three, which contribute some little amounts of fluid, and it all comes through that prostate and forms what is called semen. The prostate, the seminiferous vesicles, the Cowper's glands, they all contribute. That's why if you look at semen, actually you look like a rough mixture. It's a mix. So it's this fluid now which has the responsibility of, one, transporting these sperms from the man to outside through the urethra, okay? Two, to protect the sperms from harsh environments, and three, to feed them while they are waiting for their job. On the way, even when they've reached where they've been deposited, until they leave and go to do their job. So those are two different things. Sperm is from the testes, semen is from glands, which are actually a distance away, but they mix at that level where the prostate is, and then it becomes one mixture of the liquid, the fluid containing the sperms.
Wow.
Yes.
I have learned. I had my guess on that,
Yes, sir.
but it's been made very clear. So what a man should not boost around because he's releasing semen. He may be releasing blanks.
Yeah, we've
in other words.
even in our town here, we've been seeing those kind of men. They're there performing very well, releasing, but there's nothing.
So if you're a man, don't go out there saying, but me, I can. I see.
Yes.
You may be passing nothing but
Then
blanks.
the other thing, Darren, before we leave this, is, we have to have some messages that try to cause people to think, are we okay, are we fine? Most men think, if I'm able to perform, if I'm able to perform, then I should get someone pregnant. Just as plain as that, which is not true. Two, most men think every time they meet with a woman, that woman should get pregnant. Meaning they don't know that the lady has a cycle of events, and there's just a few days, one day, on which she can conceive. But you find them coming to you, and when the man is trying to tell you, but I perform, I try, every day, and you tell him, man, relax. You have only one day in that lady's cycle on which she can conceive. We need to understand the circumstances and see which days are best to use so that she may be able to conceive.
Interestingly, you actually talked about this even last week when you said that her fluids could just simply reject the sperms, and that's it. So you're performing.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
She's also okay.
Yes.
It's just that
there's some little bit of antibodies which are causing problems to the sperms somewhere.
Actually, your sperms could be an antibody to her because they are rejected. Would that be the case?
The antibody is what rejects. So it's her body that's rejecting.
That is rejecting. That also no. So we need to find. Is there a solution around that?
Yeah, sometimes yes, there is. Many times, actually, there is another little message we want to give the public. Many times, when a couple gets together, they may not be able to conceive immediately, and those are some of the factors that play around there. That's why you remember we gave it a whole year, 12 months. Okay, it's not that anything new is going to come up, but their body is getting used to each other.
Okay.
The lady's body understanding, this is not harmful and can be acceptable. So that alone can be the solution without even giving medicines.
One more question, Darren. You see, I even called myself one more question, Darren. One more question, doctor.
Yes.
Someone says, can one suffer from erectile dysfunction but be fertile?
Oh, okay. This is actually what we were talking about briefly, but in an indirect way. Fertility is that ability to cause a pregnancy that ends up into a baby. Erectile dysfunction is to do with oh, okay, gaining an erection or maintaining it. The erection can start but die off.
It just goes off, yeah.
But then if one is nicely potent, you maintain erection, you are able to engage in sexual act and reach a point of ejaculating, releasing. That is what is normal. But we have some people who, for example, have premature ejaculation. Before this and this, everything is done. But as long as this semen containing normal sperms is delivered to the right place and stays there, there's no problem. So the so-called 1 minute man will be fertile.
Can be fertile, yeah.
Yes, can be fertile. But if it is real bad erectile dysfunction, that there is no erection, how do you get there? How do you deliver the sperms to the right place? How do you penetrate in the first place? Okay, so that becomes now a very big limiting factor. But then there's a whole range of erectile dysfunction. There are some who have some moderate form of erectile dysfunction, but they are able to deliver the semen in the right place, and there is fertility that is able to cause sperms.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming, for sparing the time and coming back here. Guys, if you want to reach out to the doctor, use the WhatsApp number that is passing on your screens. That is 0755755575, and continue to ask your questions. Doctor will definitely get these questions. Some of you have gotten his number. You know, are going to interact with him, and yeah, he will be very helpful to you for some of the questions that some of you fear to ask here. Those can be asked in our WhatsApp group. Thank you so much. I want to wish you a good night. We'll return next week.